Hey, what's going on, everybody? Keith here. Just sitting in the studio. Um, I recently updated my rig. Got a new computer to be the brains of Fourth and Mitch Studio, and I spent all the last week sorting it out and getting everything working together. And I was planning on benchmarking, recording, and tracking today. But I got the news this afternoon that Ozzy Osbourne has passed, and that basically set the tone a little bit different for uh, my creative endeavor today. I wanted to take a minute before I get into recording some not so daily jam cam is basically my goal. Um, but of course, it's probably going to be, you know, stylistically a little bit on the Black Sabbathy side, which is actually my wheelhouse, as everybody that follows me knows. Um, Coming up on 50, I'm going to be 48 this year. There's a lot more gray in my beard if I have one, and things of us humans go through as we age. Coming to terms with the idea that although I still have a lot of life ahead of me, that probably most likely statistically I have less time ahead of me than I have behind me. So I find myself nostalgic on some days, uh, desiring to not relive but reminisce of the past and when I was a child and when the world wasn't so complicated and so scary. Um, there's a beautiful innocence of that era in my life, and you know, music played a heavy part of it, just like music plays a heavy part in all of my life, currently included. Duh. But Ozzy was always a staple from my earliest memories of, and was basically, he was the gateway drug for heavy metal. And I honestly listened to, as a child in my single digits, I knew more of his solo works, thanks to MTV and stuff. Being Gen X and MTV generation, I grew up on that, so I saw him around the clock. Um, but when I dug back to Black Sabbath, you know, the sinister themes, the darker nuances of the music, the down-tuned sludginess of Tony fucking Iommi, um, who has to be one of my greatest inspirations as a guitarist. And when I first began my adventure in guitar, I thought of myself as a rhythm player. Um, I'm multi-nuanced when it comes to styles. I don't pigeonhole myself to anything: rhythm guitar, bass, lead guitar. But Ozzy represented a. As soon as you hear an Ozzy song, especially one from the early '80s and stuff, it sets you to where you were in that time, in that era, um, in my age group. Um, I don't know. I just the guy, the guy personified wild rock and roll, and um, he was a force, a movement. So creative, so brilliant, great lyricist. You know, I was telling friends that, like, just thinking of his solo band. I mean, think of all the great, as a guitar player, like all the great guitarists. He had the best of the best play with him, you know. And man, did he have a set of pipes, and his later work. I'm not going to sit there and say I was like this diehard freaking disciple of Ozzy Osbourne, but he always was in my playlist, and I always go back to Sabbath. My favorite song by Black Sabbath is actually Killing Yourself to Live. It's just, when I first heard it in a newer context, like I heard it a million times, but like when I was actually going through it, and I felt that same thing. I was like, I love when a song that you might have heard a million times reinvents itself to you because it fits a particular point in your life, and it was like, yeah, man, somebody else gets it. And the fact that he was working class, Steel Town, British dude, and there, you know, even in the 2000s, and I hate to even admit it because I don't really care for reality television anymore. But I mean, it comes with maturity. But I remember was going through some heavy times. Three significant events happened within 2 years of each other in the late 90s. You know, or as I call it, the dark ages. You know, freaking 98, 96, my grandmother passed, and my uncle passed in 98. And then 2000 was like a weird, innocent summer, wild summer, you know, freaking carrying on, fucking getting crazy. And then 2001, 9/11, you know. And then I was watching TV one day and, you know, basic cable, you know, barely any money to my name, freaking not knowing which way was up, and the Osbournes comes on. And I don't know, like, and I first loved it, I did, and then eventually I started feeling bad for Ozzy, I started feeling bad for the family, and I saw a lot of myself in Jack in the idea that he was this teenager and he's dealing with all the same crazy crap, and I was just post that, trying to figure myself out, coming to maturity as an adult, and what that actually means, and then actually sit there and witness him do that on television. I felt bad, and I felt like it was exploitive, even though he knew, you know, he was part of it. So I shied away from it, but it brought everything back with Ozzy, and then I started listening to more Sabbath, and I started, you know, and it's just like it ebbs and flows, you know, just like any other kind of music. You might, you know, especially music of your childhood, and some people can listen to it, and I'm always looking for the next best thing. I'm always looking for something that's completely different, you know what I mean? Because that's how I think of music, and that's how I try to perform my music, and well, not perform per se. I'm not a live performer, but you know what I mean. You know, put my music out there and do my, you know, off the cuff kind of improvisational thing that I do. It's my passion. It's my hobby. I don't ever claim to be a professional or even good at it. It doesn't matter to me. That's not the point. But I'm waffling on here and I'm starting to sidetrack, but it's about Ozzy and what Ozzy meant to me, and I think a lot of millions and millions of other people all across the world. I mean, the man definitely made a mark on our culture, you know, and I don't know, man. I can't say enough about Black Sabbath and what that did, and it's like I'm always chasing that riff. Always chasing that riff. And that dude was doing in the 60s and the 70s. And although some, you know, shredders and some technical players would be like, oh, you know, it's you know, it's simple, but it doesn't matter. It hooks instantly, you know. And there's so many derivative bands of all different skill sets and stuff like that to just owe everything to them. And when I say derivative, I don't mean it in a derogatory term. I mean it in an inspirational term, you know. Like freaking Black fucking Sabbath, man. Ozzy Osbourne, Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, Bill Ward. These guys, these were gods amongst men, man. These were pillars of passionate, heavy music, and you know, being a metalhead from as far as I can remember back. You know, I remember my mom's partner in the 90s. He was a DJ. I had all this vinyl at my hands, and I remember just scrolling through it, pulling up Diary of a Madman. It was the first time that I actually had the tactile ability to go through somebody's discography, because he collected all the albums up to date of multiple bands, which I thought is brilliant. We take that for granted now, you know, with our streaming services and our MP3s, you know, in the 2000s and the 10s and stuff like that. So, but what I mean is Ozzy's always been a constant in you know, my musical toy bag, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. And I've seen Sabbath a couple times, you know, and I was more upset the first time when I saw the venue that I saw them at. I'm not a big sports fan, arena style concert venue. Like it's too much. There's too much echo, and the sounds is always just. It's never where it could be. The second time was at my my buddy's bachelor party we went to a Sabbath show at the waterfront, and it was an interesting night. Let's just put it that way. My mind was elsewhere and stuff like that, but it was. I'm glad I saw them when I did. You know, I mean, was it them in their heyday? You know what I mean? And Bill wasn't playing with them on that tour, but Tommy Kuflo, or I forget how to pronounce his last name, Ozzy's drummer, absolutely insane player, and he played the part. He played it well, and he played total honor to Bill. Um, I saw parts of the show. It was almost like I thought it was so cool because it was like I didn't think he was going to pass on within 2 weeks. But you can't write anything better as a eulogy for your farewell. Your farewell concert. You put the bow on the end of the present, the gift of life. You're going. Your time has come, and you accept that, and you just slip away into the ether. I mean, there's something really beautiful about that, and that's a life well lived, and Ozzy lived that life to the fullest, and I have nothing but utmost love and admiration, and my sincerest condolences to the people out there that are all, family, friends, and fans alike. We're all in a deep regret and mourning of a great artist, musician, and human being, and goddamn Ozzy, God bless you, and I don't know, man. Just wherever you are, just keep spreading that fucking seed, man. Like just do you, man. And a good long rest to you, sir. And I tip my hat to you. And I don't know, man. Let's get into some heavy music in his honor. Sounds good, huh? All right.